And I was, as a young man, as many young people do, trying to figure out this world and how it works. And I was, although I was raised a Catholic, I was trying to find happiness. And I was looking at, how do you actually be happy? And so around that time, George Gallup, he does polls, public opinion polls. He made a poll actually asking who is happy and why. And what he reported was that most people, let's say people who were very involved in religion, their religion, were happier than people in general. So I accepted that. I thought, okay, happiness is a subjective thing. And so I'll check out religion. And because I was raised as a Catholic, I didn't find much bliss there. So I thought I'd look toward the Eastern religions. And I started exploring anything that sounded Eastern. And before too long, I came in contact with Krishna book. And a friend of mine got it from a devotee passing through town. She wasn't interested in it. She gave it to me. And reading that book convinced me that there is a God, and his name is Krishna. And then shortly after that, I found Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita for sale at the local health food store. So I bought that and read that. And I was completely amazed by that book. All the other people I had read or come in contact with who were trying to be spiritual, they seemed like children pretending. But Prabhupada spoke with such authority and such command that I accepted him immediately as a person who actually understood what spiritual meant. And then after reading Bhagavad Gita, I got a hold of teachings of Lord Chaitanya, and I had read half of that before I met any devotees at all. And so after I'd started working, some devotees came, they opened a temple, and as soon as I came in contact with them, I started going to the temple every day for prasadam to hear Bhagavad Gita class. So my first service was to keep working because I was giving 50% of my paycheck to the temple, and I wanted to quit and just shave my head and be a full-time devotee. And the temple president said, no, your duty is to keep working. So I was very dismayed by that, but I did that. And so what I did was I said, well, I want to be a devotee. So when I go to work, I'm just going to wear tilak and I'll be a devotee. So I started going to work wearing tilak, and I thought, well, maybe they'll think I'm really weird and they'll fire me. Anyway, they didn't do that, but I had the opportunity soon to leave that job. And then I did just join the temple and became a devotee. That's all I ever wanted to do in this life, was to be a Hare Krishna. Anyway, so fast forward a little bit. Through the years, I've done practically every service, been the Pujari, the temple presidents, book distributor, all of the normal things that the devotees learn. And let's see, in the early 80s, I was the production manager for BBT for producing the 10th, 11th, and 12th cantos of the Bhagavatam with Hridayananda Gopi Pranadana Prabhu Draveda. And then, let's say, so anyway, after a while, my wife and I divorced. Then I'd been in and out of the movement for 20 years. I'd work when I had to, and then when I was able to, I would stop working and just go back to the temple. Anyway, in 2004, 2005, I went to Europe. I started traveling around Europe, Ukraine, Russia, Europe, India, traveling and preaching. And let's see, I stayed in Ukraine for about 5 years straight. And at that time I wrote my spiritual economics book, which is Lessons in Spiritual Economics from the Bhagavad Gita. And so I was, oh yeah, one other point, back up. I was in 1977, I was living at Janurary farm in Pennsylvania. And Prabhupada was going to come there to show us what Varnashram Dharma was, explain Varnashram Dharma. So we were all very eagerly awaiting Prabhupada's arrival, but as you may know, he didn't make it. He returned to Vrindavan to leave this world. So ever since that time, I'd been interested in Varnashram Dharma. What is it? I was a treasurer at that farm. And it was the New York farm. Now, Prabhupada wanted all the temples to have a farm. And so that temple was the farm for the New York temple, which was a very big temple, a lot of action there, many devotees. They were sending $10,000 every month to that farm for developing it. And we had about 20 cows who were milking. That milk was being sold to a commercial dairy. We had about 20 oxen that were basically eating and not doing much. And there was, two, maybe three men who were working with the oxen. And so I'm analyzing this situation. I'm thinking, this is not what Prabhupada had in mind when he's telling us to get farms. This is, there's something wrong with this picture. We're not doing things right. Anyway, that's what sparked my interest in economics. And because I was trying to figure out how is it supposed to work economically? And so that interest, gradually I came to write my spiritual economics book, and we have one more volume of that, maybe two coming. So when I was traveling around, I mostly stay in villages, and I'd encourage the devotees to take up this simple living and high thinking. Because two things. One, that's what Prabhupada asked us to do. And the second thing is, that's the future. Because Prabhupada said in around the middle of the 50s, or maybe several times he said, this modern way of life will not last much more than 50 years. And so time's up. And so, what's going to become? This modern civilization will be going down, and we'll talk more about that in time. But then what? Then we're going to have to be able to take care of our own needs. So anyway, so this occupies a large part of my preaching. Right now, I'm working on. I'm writing about what's the difference between a material culture and a spiritual culture. Because if we're going to come to Lord Chaitanya's golden era, a spiritual age, how is that going to be different from what we have now? And, I'll say, based on my experience, most people don't think twice about this. We don't think about how we're living. We just trying to figure out how to make the best use of the situation we find ourselves in. And so, there's an important difference. And so that's what I'm focused on right now. Leading ultimately, I want to write another book, not just spiritual economics. I want to write a book, Spiritual Culture, which will be about Varnashram Dharma and Daiva Varnashram. Right now, I live in Alachua, Florida. Big community of devotees. You probably heard of Alachua. Maybe around 1,000, 1,500 devotees are here, but they're not a cohesive group. There's many different groups, and so it doesn't have the cohesiveness that we would like to see for giving an example to other parts of society about how to live simply, simple living and high thinking. So there's some work to do there. Anyway, I think that's all. I've got several other books that I'm working on, but I'm not going to mention those. So I'll talk about them a little bit more later, perhaps. Anyway, so that's an introduction for me. We keep losing people. Anyway, Claudia, can we see your face?
Hi, yes, I'm working on that. I'm having to sign in via another device. So
Oh, okay.
hopefully in the next 10 minutes or something. Yeah, I'm just.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll come back to you.
Cool.
So Bev, if you wouldn't mind, could you tell us a little bit, introduce yourself to me a little bit so I can understand your background in Christian consciousness? The reason I'm asking is because when I speak, I need to know who I'm speaking to and what their background is so I can adjust my speaking accordingly. So if you wouldn't mind, please tell me a little about yourself.
Hi, Krishna Father. My life's not half as exciting as yours is. So many years ago, I was in Wellington, a city in New Zealand, and used to see the Hare Krishnas on Friday evenings. I mean, I was just a college girl at the time, and I was quite fascinated by the unusual looking people and their clothes and their hairdo. I used to kind of semi-mock them, actually. And that's I didn't hear much more. And then I moved to a place called Gisborne, and with my in-laws, there was a travelling Sankirtan team that came through Gisborne, and my in-law family were very interested in the Hare Krishnas, and one auntie had become a vegetarian, and we thought she was a little bit odd, and but we decided, well, she held a program at her place actually, and so we went and sat and listened, and I was curious about being vegetarian anyway, just because of sentimentally, because of my love of animals. So I wanted to try their vegetarian food and listen, and they're a very, very good team. There's a team of 3 brahmacharis, and they did a really wonderful job in hosting and feeding us nicely and singing nicely. And there's a big family of us at the time that were interested. There must have been maybe 15 of us at the time. And then there was Maharaj was going to visit, and I just heard, this holy, very, very holy person, and there was quite a huge group that came of Hare Krishna devotees, and I was hesitant because I was brought up Catholic, and I kept thinking, where does Jesus fit in here? I knew in my heart that Jesus was real, and I didn't want to deny Jesus' existence. And who was this Krishna anyway? So I had some hesitation, but my in-law family were jumping in, but I was, just holding back. And we're at this meeting where this Maharaj came, and a person asked the question, do the Hare Krishnas believe that Jesus will come again? And that got my interest. I was like, because I was actually at the time, I was quite heavily pregnant and getting a little bit hot and uncomfortable and losing interest, I guess. This was sort of the first. And so, Jesus, and so my ears pricked up and I paid attention. And to cut a long story short, he said, yes, but will you have the eyes to recognize? That made me go, would I? How would I know? And I thought about, when people are in the street preaching, and I'd walk past and think, turn to God or go to hell, and I'd think, weirdo. And I thought, were they? Actually, were they? If someone came up to me and said, no, Jesus, how would I recognize, And in my head, I knew I wanted to be in the Lord's army. But when Jesus did come, people didn't recognize him. What made me any difference? It sort of stirred up a bit of a panic in me, like, I want to be in the Lord's army, and I want to know that this is Jesus. How will I know that? And the Prabhu who was who kept coming back and teaching us, I kept thinking, I don't know, but I think he does. I think this guy knows, So I'll listen a bit more. And then my husband was really taken by it and wanted to move up to the farm and pack up our house and go. And by this time I'd had baby, but I was quite a soccer fanatic. So afterwards I thought, oh, just one more season at soccer, please. We'll go after that, just one more season at soccer. Anyway, at a practice, it was our pre-season game, Krishna took me out. Like somehow or other I broke my hip. Don't know how, but now I understand why. That within that time, so my hip was broken, my legs were taken out, what to do? So I read your ever well wisher, and that mounted my mean old heart. And then because bedridden, so I started chanting. So I started chanting 16 rounds a day because, well, I had all the time to do it. And then I got more curious and started to agree with what the direction that my husband wanted to go in. And so we ended up packing up and moving up to Auckland and associating more. And first we stayed on the outside, and then we.
Give me a date on this. How long back are we talking about?
1996.
Oh, okay.
And so we had a daughter, and so our daughter ended up going to the Gurukul, and we associated more and got involved with the cows. My husband was working with the cows, and still, I don't live at the temple now, but still on a weekly basis we go and feed the cows and have a little chant with them and sing to them, and still, well, we can't go to the temple that much now, but we've been just hanging around the edges, I guess, all those years, and still not initiated yet, but still chanting 16 rounds. And my husband still does a lot of devotional service, and he's a builder and working at the school at the moment, and there are many family members. Our family's definitely increased, and I now raise 3 of our grandchildren, which are chanters and all turned vegetarian, and some good positive things. But yeah, we're just still hanging in there.
Oh, nice. And did your husband get initiated or no?
No, he didn't. And he'd be here today, but he's working at the school at the
Okay.
moment.
All right. Okay, good.
Very keen about this community living and simple living. I think he's very, very keen for that.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.
Okay. Igor and Elena, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourselves, your background, how long you've been associating with devotees?
Hare Krishna. I met with devotee in 2012. So before that, I have economic degree, and I work hard in a bank, like business analytics, credit analytics, and I wasn't satisfied with that. When you have a high salary, big, like professional opportunity to grow, but not the happiness inside you. So, and I met with devotee, and I was interested with yoga, become a yoga spiritual, like bhakti yoga, like a physical yoga, all this background, like philosophic background. And I meet with devotee in this time, and I was so, it's like when you see the light in the darkness. I mean, the personality of devotee, how they see this world. And for me, that was, wow, I want to be something like that. So, and I continue to study. So we learn a little bit Ayurveda, a little bit yoga, a little bit practice, kirtan, chanting, and all this stuff.
Were you guys together then?
No.
Not yet.
Okay.
Not yet.
Okay.
Yes, and so, but still I continue to work in because in Russian it's a difficult time to survive also. And it's like you live in a big community where you can see lots of devotees, like a family, where they organize, for example, festivals like a Sunday program, big Sunday program weekly. And it's like, you say, wow, that's so good. There is lots of opportunity to have been involved in a devotional service, even by kirtan, even by making prasadam, distribution of prasadam, books and all this stuff. Yeah, and in 2016, in 2014, we meet. And in 2016, we decided to move to New Zealand. And it was like, my heart was broken because I was like, and before that I chant, and that was like a stable practice, not 16 rounds, but still. And the migration, it was so difficult time for us in the beginning. And I know that it's my Sadhisati astrology period, and I couldn't do lots of stuff. So, and then we moved to Whangarei and we met Budi. And it's, wow, horrible. And yeah, we try to be involved in Food for Life when we can. And yeah, that's amazing that we have devotees here, family, like.
Especially the one like Budi. I will just add a little bit to, from my side. I was originally interested and actually reading some books before meeting Lena about Buddhism and other religions at that time. Even that I knew something about Hare Krishna, and I remember like in 90s, there were lots of Krishna devotees distributing wonderful cakes everywhere. Just knocking the door and trying, to give it to you. I guess sell it to you. I don't know, but they were wonderful. But I was a kid and didn't know much about it. Then later, when I met Lena, one of the first thing we did together came on a festival, like a retreat type of style, 7 days. Just people, in the middle of forest, or on the island, in fact, which is a bit of land in the forest close to the river. So when it happened that they were all mostly devotees. So that was a wonderful experience, and I got captivated.
Nice, good. Do you have children?
Not yet.
No, okay, all right, good. How old are you, if you don't mind my asking?
30
Igor,
plus.
how old? 35. Okay. Elena?
30 plus.
Okay, good. All right, thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, it's so nice. You come to a place and you think, oh, how am I going to live without devotees? And then you meet devotees. It's like, wow. Yeah, right. Association is so important for all of us.
I would say, yeah, it is a blessing to have people, like to have devotees in every town in the world to some extent.
Yeah, very good. Okay, thank you. Purnamasi, are you there?
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Could you give us a brief introduction, please, to yourself?
Yeah. Okay. So I was born in Australia. And my parents were kind of new devotees, I guess. They were Krishna Premavadi and Sachasain. Anyway, so Sachasain had my mum had I have an older brother as well. Then he ended up leaving. So then she got an arranged marriage to Pavata Muni, who essentially became my father. And so I was raised on New Govardhan. We went to Gurukul there. My parents did a lot of book distribution and went on paintings and T-shirts and all that things to raise money for the temple. And we had a nice childhood, but I think some of the concepts we learned about what devotion was were very skewed. Then we moved to Mayapur for a while. My dad worked on the Prabhupada Samadhi. My dad, Pavadamuni, he was a really exceptional builder and he knew a lot about materials and how to do things. And then from there we moved to New Zealand and we've been here ever since. And I've been through a lot emotionally and mentally. And so I have 3 different children to 3 different fathers and none of them devotees. And yeah, now I've come back to my Krishna consciousness and really trying to progress nicely.
Okay, thank you. New Govardhan. Maybe you know a dear friend of mine, Achyuta, he's from America. Did you ever meet him?
Say his name again.
Achyuta?
I don't recall.
Okay, you might have been young when he was there. I think he got there about 1985. And
I would
so,
have been 3.
Yeah, you would have been small then. Okay, good. From a family of devotees. That's interesting. Okay, yeah. So you know a lot of the history of ISKCON and so on. Okay, good. Thank you. And who is Vodafone Smart E9?
Oh, that's me. That's Claudia. Hi, Bob.
Hi, Bob, Victoria. We're doing a round of introductions. After I'm asking all of you to introduce yourselves. After you're done, I'll introduce myself again for those who
I've been listening. I'm Claude. I've just had to swap over devices. Yeah, I've got a bit of feedback. So
You need.
yeah, so my journey, I guess I'm Claudia, and I'm currently 32. So I guess when I left school, I went to university and
Hey, Claudia, you need to turn the other one off because it's getting feedback.
oh, is it? It should be.
Yeah.
Oh. How's that? Is that better?
It's better.
Much better. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. So I guess I went to university. I studied international relations and business, and yeah, simply just because I was just sort of I was searching for something and I didn't really know what I was doing, and it was where I it's where everyone else was. So I ended up at uni, and I ended up doing 4 years of it. And after that, I just thought, stuff this. And then I went overseas and I traveled various places, South America, North America, parts of Asia. I never made it to India. And I guess from that point, I was, searching, and I came across yoga first of all, and that kind of led me deeper. And then eventually I made my way back to Whangarei, which is where I was born and raised. And I met Buddhi through my mum. And still sort of didn't surrender to Krishna straight away at all.
Yeah.
It just
Connection's not good.
got deeper and deeper.
Yeah. Claudia, perhaps you could turn off your video because your audio, I don't think you have enough bandwidth for your audio to come through clearly.
Oh, okay, no problem. I'll try.
Okay, let's have a go with that. Oops, you're back.
Sorry, I'm just trying. Oh yeah. Sorry, everyone. Okay.
There you go.
Yeah. So, and then a couple of years ago, the thing that attracted me most to the Krishna consciousness was the Sankirtan, and chanting and the Harinam and the power of that to take you deeper. And then I met my
Bodhi,
partner, Scott, through Bodhi.
you getting it?
Well, only getting every third or fourth word, really.
Yeah. Okay.
Buddy.
Right. So Claudia, maybe another time.
Yeah. Sorry, everyone.
It's not working very well.
I'm technologically impaired, so.
Okay.
I can give
All
you
right.
I can give you a little bit about Claudia, from what I know.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
from
right.
when I met her. Yeah, she turned up at Food for Life, independent, happy girl, just and been traveling overseas, and had a strong personality, and but I had an interest in spiritual life. I wanted to find out more, and started doing some service, and still had some resistance to surrendering, and had a little bit of a what do you call it, a woman,
Independent woman.
yeah, like a woman's lib sort of thing. Like I can do anything. Yeah, that's which is
Yeah. Okay. How long back is this that she started coming around?
maybe how long, Claudia? Maybe 5-6 years, something.
Okay.
About that.
Right.
And,
4 years.
and,
Yeah, maybe 5. Yeah.
yeah. She said, "Oh, I'm never gonna have children. I'm never gonna. No, I don't need a partner. I don't need. No, that's not me." But but she had a very honest heart, and a very kind-hearted, generous person. Very and not materially motivated. Very detached materially, and very able to live simply and things. So had good qualities like that. So anyway, just through some association, doing some service, she's part of the family now. Yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. All right. So I'm very happy to have the opportunity to make your acquaintance. I'm going to give you a little bit more background that I left out earlier, and that is 4 years ago I finished my last book, which is titled Divine or Demoniac: Spiritual Movements and the Enemies Within. And this is a book that is, you could say, revisionist history for Christianity. So, Bev, you might find this interesting. It's about how Jesus was actually a Vaishnava, and I mean a Vaishnava like us. And Bodhi, did you finish that first chapter yet?
Of Divine or Demoniac?
Yeah.
No, I haven't started that. I'm still spiritual economics.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Your wife's reading it, not you. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, Jesus was a Vaishnava like us. So there's some revisionist history. So, and the question is, okay, well, if Jesus was a Vaishnava, what happened? Because Christianity, modern Christianity, doesn't look anything like Vaishnavism. And so I explored this, and in the book, I explain reasons of what happened along the way from 2,000 years ago till now. And basically what happened was the Roman establishment hijacked Jesus's mission and used it to create a false religion, or let's say a materialistic religion, what we call Kaitava Dharma in Srimad Bhagavatam. A materialistic religion that is subservient to the demands of the state. Give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and to God what is God's, like that. So that's the advent of the eternal religion 2,000 years ago. Now, 50 years ago, the eternal religion again advented in the West in the form of Srila Prabhupada's mission. And when we had, in the early days of our movement, we were a very revolutionary movement. We had intended on changing this world. We were in a war with Maya, and we were thinking in those terms. And when we went out on book distribution, it was really, we had every belief we were going to conquer the world. Because why? Because we're Krishna's army, right? We're Prabhupada's the Senapati Bhakta, the great commander general of Lord Chaitanya. And Lord Chaitanya's golden era is coming. So we were convinced like that we were going to change the world, that gradually the world would become spiritualized. And to a large degree it did, actually, because when I joined the movement in 1972, like I said, I was raised a Catholic. And at that time, there was nobody, no other religion, no other people were saying as clearly as Srila Prabhupada, you are not the body. He was the only one saying this. Now, fast forward 50 years to the year 2000, I read another public opinion poll in which some 60% of Americans reported that they accepted that they were something other than the body. You know, spirit, soul, or whatever. They, you know, perhaps it wasn't clear what they were, what they thought, but they understood that they were something other than the body. So that's an amazing result. And I consider that result coming directly from Srila Prabhupada and his teaching, his books, and our efforts to spread Christian consciousness all over the world. So although we were very revolutionary at that time, somehow or other, since Prabhupada left, ISKCON has become basically a mainstream religion. ISKCON, or the Hare Krishna movement, is churchianity, in which, you know, we new devotees are taught, you know, keep your job, go to university, and come to the temple on weekends. So this is very different from what we were initially. And so as I was reading about Jesus and what happened to his movement of Vaishnavas 2,000 years ago, I saw very many parallels as to what happened to our mission, Srila Prabhupada's mission, that were very, very much the same. Anyway, so this book, the main thesis is that the establishment understood that Prabhupada's mission was a very great threat to the status quo. They infiltrated ISKCON and from within have destroyed it, with the conclusion that if our enemies had wanted to destroy ISKCON, they could not have done a better job than our leaders. So I don't know how shocking that might be to some of you. Maybe it's helps to explain some of your experience. But it's important to understand the reality of this world. As wonderful as Krishna consciousness is, we are still in a material world. We're not in Vaikuntha yet, even though for new devotees, it seems like, you know, hallelujah, we have arrived, you know, we're there. This is the spiritual world. And we should all, you know, be happy like that. But, you know, as it turns out, we're not. And the demons, as you might be able to perceive by the COVID drama that's going on all over the world, the demons in this world are extremely powerful. They think this world belongs to them, and they control it as they want. And we take a lesson from 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Hiranyakashipu, and what did he want? Everything, right? Everything. And Also, Bali Maharaj, he wanted everything, top to bottom, right? So this is the nature of demons. They want to own and control everything. And if anybody gets in their way, they become the enemy. So this is the reality of this world. And we need to, especially at this time, because the whole COVID drama and the way the political, let's say, that is being used as political ammunition to change the way the world works, we have to understand the spiritual truth behind that, right? 16th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says there's two kinds of beings in this world, the divine and demoniac. And the demoniac, let's say, if anything, Krishna understates the whole nature of the demonic personality in the Bhagavad Gita. It's much, much more than that. In my spiritual economics book, I have one chapter of divine and demonic consciousness, and I explain the demonic consciousness to some degree. And it's important to understand what that is. In modern psychological terms, for the demonic personality, they call it a psychopath. Now, many people have heard this term and they assume, that it's just some kind of bad person or a person with personality disorder, I think they call it. Well, it's more than that. Those people, psychopaths, they have no conscience. That is, they have no connection with super soul. So there is no right or wrong for them, right? What is right is anything that they want to do. And what is wrong is anybody that gets in their way. So this is why we see on the political scene, Putin and Trump, they were the very bad guys, right? Because they were not in line with the New World Order, with the globalists. And so they were the enemy. Anyway, the demons have a very, I would say they're not hiding themselves anymore. They have a very explicit agenda to own and control everything in this world. Perhaps you saw the little video from the World Economic Forum. It's 2030. You will own nothing and be happy. Have you seen that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's their idea. They want to own everything. You will own nothing. And how would you be happy? Because they're going to control you. They're going to control all of your emotions one way or another. And so one way that we see going on, at least there's some suspicion, is with this jab that they're going to be able to control people somehow. We haven't seen that yet, but that may be coming. So the result of publishing this book is I'm a bad guy. I'm not, let's say, the GBC are not happy with me, okay? In Europe and America, I'm not allowed to give class or to lead kirtans. They haven't banned me from the temples or banned my book, probably because that would make me more popular, but so that's an important part of understanding who I am. I speak the truth. I speak, I find no reason in, trying to tiptoe around the truth for the sake of people's hurting, or for the sake of not hurting people's feelings. Better that we grow up, we understand what the truth of this world is and learn how to deal with it, and understand that we are, as I expressed it yesterday, we are in a situation much like the Mahabharata. if you've read the Mahabharata, you'll have some idea. If you haven't read it, I think you should. But Mahabharata is, what makes it such an amazing book is that there are so many moral dilemmas, so much confusion as to what's dharma, what to do, what not to do. Should we do this? Should we do that? You know, and we're in a similar situation because we see many devotees, or let's say the leaders of ISKCON, are encouraging devotees to take the jab. Whereas many devotees have recognized that this jab is poison. And so there's a lot of confusion. They say, well, you know, don't these leaders understand what the situation is? Are they, how can they honestly encourage devotees to do that? And you may know that Prahlad Swami, who was the health minister of ISKCON for many years, he was very honest about the nature of the jab, and he was encouraging devotees not to take it. So the result of that was that not only was he removed from that position, but the GBC removed that position of health minister entirely. There is no health minister anymore. So this is the situation that we have in the world today and in our society today. We're in a Mahabharata situation. Just like Mahabharata was leading up to the Battle of Kurukshetra, in which many people would be killed and the whole nature of the world would change, we are in a similar time in which many people are going to die and the world's going to go through a drastic change. So we need the help of proper spiritual understanding to be able to work our way through this, to be able to reconcile what we see going on in the world with a philosophy of Krishna consciousness. We would like this world to be a benign, wonderful place. Many people think like that. In fact, most young people do. You know, we're born into the world. We have no reason to be suspicious of anything. You know, life is pleasant. You know, 20th, 21st century, it's, you know, materially things are very nice. And so, you know, why spoil the picture by thinking that there's bad people? You know, that's a conspiracy theory and, you know, kooky stuff for tinfoil hat people, right? But those conspiracy theorists are simply people who have done a lot of research and read factual history of this world and understand what's going on. And it's not conspiracy theory, it's conspiracy fact. In fact, it's not even conspiracy because if you can take the time to do the research, the globalists, they don't hide anything. Everything that they're doing, they've spoken about it very openly, and you can see it coming. So the World Economic Forum or any of these secret societies and so on, they lay it all out there. And so, you know, some people read this and they say, oh my gosh, look what's going on. And others, they won't accept it because it spoils the happy picture that they want to think, you know, this world is. So the question is, do we want a happy picture? Do we want to live in the illusion, or let's say, sleep in the lap of the witch called Maya, illusion? Or do we want to wake up to the truth and understand the reality of what's going on and learn how to apply the philosophy of Krishna consciousness in a way so that we can not only get through the coming years ourselves, but to help others also navigate what's going to be coming in the world. And what's going to be coming is difficult times. And I didn't tend to get into that very much today. The first time I spoke with Booty, and there was about 30 devotees on that call. What was that, about 2 months ago, I guess. We spoke about that in some detail, so I'm not going to cover that again immediately. But anyway, so that's the continuation of my introduction so that you know who I am and where I'm coming from. Not everybody wants to hear what I have to say. That's understandable. But we have to prepare for simple living and high thinking, because our present way of life is not going to continue much longer. All right, I'm going to stop there. I hope I haven't shocked you all too much. If you have any questions or comments, let's discuss.
Prabhu, I'm hoping that this will be a, I'm kind of marketing this year as for like a 5 or 6 week kind of a 5 or 6 week course. So maybe we could try and there are quite a few people that wanted to come, but they'll come next week. So I thought,
all right, thank you. Yeah, you reminded me. So I didn't want to just start out giving lectures. I wanted to find out, what do you want to hear?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why we went around and had a little bit introduction. So I know some of you and who I'm speaking to. Some of you have been around ISKCON for a long time. Some of you are fairly new. That's good to know. But tell me, what are your interests? Or first of all, let me tell you, generally what I speak about is when I've traveled around, my introductory lecture is generally to explain the entire scope of Bhakti Yoga. Not only Vaidhi Sadhana Bhakti, but Raganuga Sadhana Bhakti, and how we are supposed to progress from one stage to another in Krishna consciousness. That's generally what I give as my introductory lecture. Aside from that, I speak about spiritual economics. How do we live in this world? Economics means how do we live in the world? So how do we live in the world in a spiritual way? We're trying to be spiritual people, right? We have some idea what that means, but the fact of the matter is we don't live according to our philosophy, right? Bhagavad Gita is a wonderful book. We all study it, we learn many spiritual things, but we don't live according to Bhagavad Gita. Surprise. Instead, we live according to the ways of the demonic society. So how do we live according to our philosophy? That's another topic that I discuss. Another one is Varnashram Dharma, and or then any other topic related with our spiritual progress, spiritual development, anything from Bhagavad Gita or Srimad Bhagavatam. So if you have some suggestions about what, one other thing. The devotees who I generally speak to in the last few years are the devotees who have become alienated from ISKCON, who after some years they experience some disappointments, or they see that ISKCON is not what they read in Prabhupada's books. As one of my godbrothers, he said he was at one temple one time and some new people came up to him and they said, we're a little confused. Should we do what we read in the books or should we do what we see and they tell us in the temple? Surprise. So anyway, that's the question mark is, how do we understand the philosophy? How do we live it? How do we apply it in our lives? Okay. So maybe you have some suggestions now about what you'd like to discuss, or you could get together and discuss among yourselves. Perhaps we could have a series of classes, like a seminar based on Bhagavad Gita. I have a YouTube channel also, Dhanesvara Das. And not to, let's say, this last year, I put up, I did a summary study of Bhagavad Gita. So every chapter of Bhagavad Gita, there's a summary there. So you might like to listen to those to get an idea of the flavor of my discussions. But anyway, you can suggest something that you'd like to have for a series of talks or whatever. And I'm open to anything, whatever you would like. Woody?
Yeah, well, from me personally, since I've been listening to your classes, I've developed a much stronger desire. I mean, there's many things that I found inspiring, but particularly I've realized that I've never studied Bhagavad Gita properly. I've never, there's one class where you say, what are the first 3 lessons of Bhagavad Gita? And, I've never thought like that. You read it, but you never actually study it properly. And I know Prabhupada wanted us to study. He wanted to study his books in depth. So for me personally, I think a lot of things because everything is there. Varnashram is there, economics is there, like you say, personal relationships are there. Everything is there within the Bhagavad Gita. So I think perhaps, if we could say make a seminar series of just going deeper into Bhagavad Gita, that would work. That could cover everything. But if we wanted to specialize in something else that people are interested in as well, community. Basically the people that are here are all interested in community. We're all interested in establishing a community and supporting each other. So anything along those lines would work for me. I mean, there's two new people here that weren't here before. There's Brooke, who has just come to Whangarei and met up with the devotees here, and she's just texted me or messaged here to say, sorry for tuning in late. I'm very keen to attend the future lectures. Excellent talk so far. I'm very interested to hear more. So maybe we could hear, might want to. And then there's also Ben is tuned in as well. So.
Okay. Elena, Igor?
Yeah, to be honest, personally, I would be really interested to hear about, as you said, your experience, what worked, what didn't, from your past life. You're having this experience and, being a devotee, living in a temple, living on a farm, and, how it should be organized to, to make it work.
I'm not sure I got that. Can you say it in one sentence?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm saying, to be honest, I'm interested in listening to your personal experience of, being a devotee, living on the farm, in the temple, and what worked, what didn't.
Yeah. Okay. All right. There's a lot to say about that, because that's a very different way of life than what we typically have living in the city and having our individual jobs. And so generally what happens is, people, they say, oh, let me back up and say, Prabhupada in 1974, he gave a series of morning walk conversations about World War III. And at that time, he made it sound like World War III was imminent. He said all the temples should get farms. And when before World War III would happen, the pujaris would have dreams to take the deities from the city to the farm. And so this was very shocking for us at that time. Of course, we took it very seriously. And so all the temples got farms. And but we didn't really understand what we were doing. You know, we just went to the from the city to the farm, and we took the city with us. We weren't really prepared or didn't really understand what we were supposed to do there. And so we continued to try to live the modern lifestyle from the farm instead of being in the city. And like Purnamasi was explaining, you know, her parents were out selling candles and paintings and other kinds of paraphernalia to raise money. Most of our farms did that, rather than focusing on growing our own food and becoming independent, living on the land. So there's a lot to say about that. And we could do a whole seminar on that. But you know, I'd like to, you discuss among yourselves about, you know, and come to some conclusion about what you all would like to hear. That's Claudia's husband there. Who's that Samsung Galaxy there?
Yes, that's Claudia.
Oh, you're Vodafone. You're Vodafone. Samsung Galaxy is Ben.
Oh,
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, Dandavats to you
Hare
and the rest
Krishna.
of the crew.
He's in his
Yeah,
yoga
I would love,
pose.
knowing more about implementing Varnashram into my daily life, into my family's life.
Uh-huh.
And, yeah, how I can actually do it.
Okay. You know what would be helpful for me? So both of you express interest in this. It would be helpful for me if you could write down some questions that you have that you would like to get answers to, because you have to, you know, it's every aspect of life. And so what specifically, you know, are the things or this topics that you're curious about? Economics is my segue into Varnashram Dharma. There's only a handful of leaders of ISKCON who speak about Varnashram Dharma, and everybody's coming from a bit of a different perspective. Bhakti Vikas Swami, Bhakti Vikas Swami is, his disciples are pursuing it. Bhakti Vidya Purna Maharaj, he's coming from traditional Indian culture. Bhakti Raghava Swami, he's looking at it in terms of culture and education. But my segue is economics, and it's, I think, the most important thing, because unless we get the economics right, you know, it's going to be, let's say, you know, we're going to mix everything up, and which is what we've done in the past. So anyway, if you have some specific questions, or you can pull together some questions, that would be helpful for me. We can do a series. Maybe we do a 4 or 5 week series about, okay, well, let me back up. I have done, and I believe on my YouTube channel, I have done a, oh no, wait. I've done a series of classes on Varnashram Dharma, but most of them are with Russian translation. But then last year I did a series also with just straight English. Those are not posted yet. anyway, it's probably better if we just go through everything. But yeah, if you could pull together some specific questions that you have about how are we going to do that? How do we get there from here? What is there? What's the final goal? What does it look like? You know, anything like that. Your feedback is very helpful for me because, you know, as a teacher, I want to focus on your interests and what you want to learn.
Okay, Guru. Yep, I'll do that. I'll come up with some of my questions, write them down.
I think
Okay.
I'll send an email out to everybody, and we can maybe all pull some questions together, and then I can send them through to Dhanesvara, and he can prepare for next week.
Okay.
Just
Bev,
one
what
thing.
about you? You and your husband. You had experience there on the farm many years ago. Certainly you learned many things from that experience, and probably you had some experiences you don't want to repeat. So you would have a lot of good things to say about that, I think.
I'd just like to actually say thank you to you, Prabhu, for your time. And I really appreciate your honesty. I love it.
Thank you.
Honesty and your truth and your wisdom. I could listen to you all day, actually. I'm glad I've just found out about your YouTube. I appreciate everything that I experienced there at the farm and living the farm life. I also appreciate living off the farm life. I hold this very dear in my heart. Yes, there's things that have gone on and are going on, and I may not agree with. But my focus really is how to make the best of our future. I just want to go forward, and under good leadership and good guidance. And I'm loving this whole process. And thank you, Woody. Woody pulls us all together. And we had a wonderful experience with not so long ago, Raki Archer, and all went to Whangarei and sort of just felt the love again and the unity, because we feel personally a bit disjointed because of the jab, non-jab, allowed here, not allowed here, opinions. And I just sort of at this stage just like to focus on my crew, the people that are going in the same direction. I don't have a particular question, but I'm just interested in what's going on and listening to everybody else's views, and just feels nice to be in unity again. So I thank you for your wisdom and your truth. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
And it makes you smile.
Thank you.
Can I just say,
Okay.
Prabhu, can I just say that you mentioned about the lectures that are in Russian, and they have the Russian translation.
Yeah.
I mean, they're in English with Russian translation.
Yeah.
I initially had some reservations about listening to them because they take twice as long because you got the translations. But I actually found that it was good with the translations, because it gives you time to think about what you've said while the translation is going on, because you can't understand the translation. Or maybe Igor and Yelena could get both, then they could get the English and the Russian, but for me it was quite good because I could focus on your statement while the translation was going on, ready for the next one. Otherwise there's so much information there that you kind of lose it. So I wouldn't be put off by the translations. If people want to listen to them, they're good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. All right. Anything else for today then? Should we, next question is, should we continue this Sunday morning your time at 8 a.m.? Does that work for everybody? Or-
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We could do earlier if you like. I don't know. How much it impacts your day. Anyway, discuss that with Booty and send your questions to him. He'll be the point man for all this. He'll get back to me, let me know what the conclusions are. And if let's say, if there's nothing else, then anyway, it's a pleasure to make your acquaintance, to get to know you a little bit. I very much like to have the opportunity to meet devotees from other parts of the world and understand their experiences. It's a big world. Things are different everywhere, and you know, we all need help, and so we get by. You know, the who is that? The Beatles. We get by with a little help from our friends, something like that. So we get by with the help of the Vaishnavas, that's for sure, and our acharyas. So, anything else, Buddy?
Yeah, I have just one question that you may, just to give us a little bit of a taste of things to come. But I heard in a class I listened to yesterday about somebody asked a question. You were talking about Varnashram, and they said, well, you know, if we all go to the land and live on the land, you know, we can't. What if you don't like farming? You know, we're not all farmers. And you laughed and you said, no, it's not expected that everybody will be a farmer. And you said that actually only a few people will actually be farmers in that sense, in a village situation. And you described that you need your entertainers, and you need your dancers, and you need your builders, and everybody is needed in a community. But you did point out that actually the first thing required in a community is food, so that you actually so in that way, those that are inclined to producing food, the people that are inclined to gardening and cow protection and things, they really should be the first people to settle in a community and get that established, and the others will come after that. So that's I just wonder if you can expand a little bit on that idea.
We'll start with the bigger picture, which is, what's the purpose of human life?
Okay.
And you probably all understand the answer to that, right? We all want to leave this world forever and return back home, back to Godhead. And to do that, we have to come to the platform of Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness. But you can't get there from Rajas and Tamas in the cities, right? Not possible. You go from Rajas or Tamas to Shuddha Sattva, too big a step. So first we have to come to Sattva. That point has not been well understood, and that is the essential point that we need to understand. Why do we live in a village, growing our own food, taking care of cows?
Come up on Sunday.
And the answer to that is because that sort of life puts us, it forces us to live in Sattva-gun. You can't be in Rajas and do that. Vodafone, maybe you could mute. Okay. One devotee was getting trained how to plow with the bulls. So the senior devotee who was doing the training, he was instructing the newbie who was learning, and the fellow learning, he wanted to go faster. He was trying to make the bull go faster. And the devotee who was teaching him said, it doesn't work that way. You adjust yourself to the bull. He does not adjust himself to you. Okay? Now, from our experience in Rajagun, right? We get in our car, we want to go faster, we step on the gas, and away we go. We adjust the world to us in modern life. You get in your house, it's too cold, you turn on the thermostat, and the house adjusts to you. The modern society is a matter of trying to make the world adjust to us. For what purpose? For sense gratification, right? Modern life is designed for the demons, and they are interested in sense gratification. But that doesn't help us go back to Godhead. Okay. We want to get to Sattva-gun. So you live in the village. When you're planting your own food, you have to, you can't be lazy and do it whenever you want, right? When it's time to plant, you have to plant. Otherwise, when it's time to harvest, you're not going to get what you need. So you can't be lazy. The bull and the cow, they don't wear a watch, but they know time. And if you're late to milk the cow, she's going to let you know. She's not happy, right? You have to be there on time. So we're forced to develop good qualities, being honest, being let's say, being responsible, doing things timely, giving up our laziness. These are the reasons why we want to live in the village. And this is the essential aspect of village life. So we don't want to really go to the village and take the city with us. If we do that, we do not get the benefit of village life, right? The benefit of village life. Okay, let's say the benefits of modern society are the tangibles. We're all talking on computers or phones. That's a tangible. We get these goodies that we can do stuff with. It's a lot of fun. We have cars, we have phones, we have modern things, sense gratification of various kinds. So these are the benefits of modern society. They're tangible. But the non-tangibles, time for your family, loving relationships, a feeling of belonging, of feeling of contributing to something that's important and bigger than yourself, we don't get that. It's reversed in the village. In the village, we don't get the tangibles. We don't have the goodies, okay? But what do we have? We have loving relationships. We have time to devote to worship of the Lord, time for our children, time to teach our children, time for our relationships, time for things that are important to us. So we have the non-tangibles in village life, but not the tangibles. Now, if you just go to the village life and bring the city with you, you're not going to experience that. You don't get that experience immediately. I've lived in villages in Russia, in Lithuania, in Ukraine, in Belarus, in India. And my experience was it would take me about a month of being in the village before all the Rajagun and Tamagun would just kind of settle out, and I could relax and I could feel the change in the gunas. I could feel the peacefulness. And like Krishna says, how can there be any happiness without peace, right? So after a while, the rajas and the tamas goes away and you get to sattva. And then after some time, of course, I would go to a preaching program or something. I'd be going back to the city. And driving into the city, I could immediately feel the agitation of Rajagun. It became obvious to me because I had become free from that. And so the contrast was very apparent to me when I would make that switch. So we have to understand the purpose of human civilization. Krishna has designed everything, and he's arranged things in such a way so that automatically we can become good people and we can rise up to becoming more and more advanced spiritually without much difficulty. Prabhupada said, we want to pave the way back home, back to Godhead. So we all know, we all drive on paved roads. We know how nice that is compared to if you have a dirt road or no road, right? Our forebears, they didn't have paved roads. They rode a horse and buggy over non-paved roads. So Prabhupada said we want to pave the way back home, back to Godhead, so that the future generations, they grow up, they have no clue what is fruitive work. All they know from the time they're born is devotional service to Krishna. All they know is sattvic living. All they know is giving to others and serving Krishna and serving each others. These are things we're going to have to learn. We are going to have to make that transition. And for a lot of people, it will be easy. For a lot of people, they won't even want to do it. So that's our pioneering work, right? We want to pioneer going from this demonic civilization of things and, no intangibles to the benefits of the intangibles and spiritual life. So understanding the purpose, the bigger picture, the purpose helps us then to get oriented where we're going to go. Just like if we go on a cruise on the sea, there's no lines, right? You can go anywhere. So you have to point your ship. Where do you want to go? You set your compass for where you want to go. So we need to do that for our civilization. We are going to have to create this new spiritual culture. So what's that going to look like? How is it going to be different from the present culture? Can we be spiritual people? What does it mean to be a spiritual person? How is it different from what we do now? So these things we have to pioneer. And of course, we're going to be put into demanding circumstances to do that, because the world is going to change dramatically in the next 3 to 5 years. So we are those pioneers, not only for ourselves, but for the rest of the populace. If you can imagine this modern way of life going down rather dramatically, right? In the cities, unless there is water, sewage treatment, or sewage removal, food and electricity, you can't live in the cities. If any one of those 4 are removed, you can't live in the cities. And we're coming to a time when many people will be leaving this world untimely due to the jab. And then the question is, how will the cities function? How will this modern society function? It's a house of cards. You've all played that as children, right? You pull out too many cards and the whole thing collapses. So this is why Prabhupada could see that coming. Right? He said, this modern civilization will not last much more than 50 years. So time's up. And so that's what he wanted his followers to do. And this is our challenge. And let's say, we are, as devotees, we are the ones who can help people learn how to leave this modern way of life behind and transit into a new, more sattvic spiritual way of life. So it's not just for us, it's for everybody. And if we understand the bigger picture, then it helps us to set our compass for where we're going to go. Comment, question?
Yeah, thank you, Dhanesvara Prabhu. That was really inspiring, to be honest.
Right. Okay, then. Let's see what time it is. Okay, hour and a half. Anyway, again, it was very nice to make your acquaintance. And so be in touch with Booty. And then we'll set things up and we'll see you again next Sunday. Okay. Thank you. Shila Prabhupada Ki.
Thank you.
Right, Haribol.
Haribol.
So much, Janurary.